All right, we are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. This is one of a series of shows we're going to be doing looking at the COB, everything from some in the legislature that are trying to limit the COB's power here in Nashville to those like Community Oversight Now that were very much behind it passing. We're going to get to the phone call, 737-7587. Just wanted to throw this out as well. And I remember reading this and kind of thinking to myself, wow, who came up with this? At nothing else, it's going to get some attention in response to some of the legislation that they're pushing, the stuff on the subpoena powers and limits on who can be on the Community Oversight Board. You guys were behind the idea of sending letters to the parents of 230 top-ranked football players in the 2020 class, all of whom have multiple scholarship offers, all of whom might be considering coming to, for instance, the University of Tennessee to play football and would be valuable additions to the team, telling them about what's happening in this state and saying you might want to reconsider not coming here because of the way the legislature is treating the COB. Well, talk about that.
Yeah, so we know that athletes who come to Nashville and receive scholarships are disproportionately people of color. And we know that policing also impacts people of color very heavily. So we want to let athletes know who are potentially coming here on a scholarship that the legislature currently does not respect your rights to have oversight of your police department, and that if you come here, the state legislature is very hostile to things that would make you safer. So we're just trying to inform athletes of.
What's the idea of just targeting athletes? Because you know that's going to be a buzzword. I mean, you could have sent these letters out to incoming business folks or any folks that are thinking of moving here, but you chose athletes. Why?
Because it's the economic piece of it. Because say for example, the University of Tennessee is basically $100 million. That basically
the football team is,
the football and basketball. Yeah, it's $100 million. So when you have athletes and they're actually making so much money for a state, and then you don't even consider the fact that you want to make the state safe for them. When they're actually coming here to play sports, you want to make it safe. And to, if that something like that could happen to an athlete like Bernard King, that is pretty much a legend in Tennessee sports, then it can happen to anyone. And so you want to have procedures in place where any student that comes here, they feel they're going to be safe in Tennessee, because I made the statement that once they take off their jersey, just like any other person of color or say a poor white person that's on the streets. So,
to your knowledge, I was wondering if any of these families, most families choosing, where they're going to send their son or daughter to a university to play sports, does their diligence, really researches it. Did you get any responses from any of these letters from anyone seeking more information from you, from any of these families? And do you know if it affected any of the athletes considering coming here? Have you heard anything?
We haven't heard yet, but this is a pretty new campaign we've started. Okay,
I just didn't know if some got that letter and said, well, what's this all about? And tried calling you guys to ask you about it.
Yeah.
Or
and also keep in mind, this campaign will be going on way over a year.
So it's still happening. Will more letters go out?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, we're looking at, we've already sent out roughly 300 letters, and these are top tier athletes that, we're looking at least getting a total of 800, but it's from all around the country.
Yeah. All right, let's take a few phone calls. We'll go to Joe. Joe, good morning. Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey, what's on your mind?
I just listened to your guest and your lead-ins here, but one of your guests there mentioned about the FOP wasting a lot of money trying to defend themselves. I just heard yesterday how much some of the members on the board is going to get, and $120,000. These 3 different members of the board are going to get salaries over $120,000 a year. That's a pretty good job, I'd say. When you can't even give your policemen a raise, like a cost of living raise of like 3%. Things, they're getting upside down here the way I see it. I mean, when you can't even pay the people that you got out there on the streets trying to keep people safe and keep people from killing each other every night, that you're going to have a board that's sitting there behind a desk and a chair getting $120,000 or $30,000 a year salary. Now, I was listening to you talk to the vice mayor the other day, and the way I understood it was no board member was going to get any money. So I'm a little bit confused about the money situation.
Let's clear that up, because we did have Vice Mayor on, and my understanding is there is a budget of, I think it's over $1 million, right? And there are going to be paid staffers who, I don't know if they're making $100 grand or how the money is going to be divvied. The board members, though, are not being paid, but there will be paid staffers. So he's correct. There is obviously a budget and a price tag attached to this board.
Right. Right, and that's an important part of this board. If they can't hire staff and do their own investigations, then it's not truly an independent board, which is a key component of ensuring its success. But I also wanted to address the fact that he insinuated that we can either fund this board or we can give raises to our police officers. And I think we should do both, and we can do both. I think it's a problem with our city council that they haven't, but I think framing this as we can fund one or the other is a wrong way of looking at it.
And again, this was something that, I mean, there was a referendum on it.
Right.
It voted and passed, so those who voted for it, I believe the money should be spent on that. But yeah, I know people point at that. I think in general the public sometimes worries about the effectiveness of blue ribbon committees and boards and board this, and we'll research that. I think a lot of people that supported the COB are going to want to see some results.
Yes.
Okay. Now that doesn't mean going after and holding police, accountable if they're not, or vice versa. But they're going to want to see more stuff. And the first 2 meetings, this can probably be a few more where they have to get things organized, right? But I mean, they're going to want to see some activity for this money.
And I would also say, if Nashville would critique the other boards. If you're going to critique this board and you're going to actually look at their spend and look at the other boards around Nashville and actually make sure that they're spending their money, correctly. But as far as police officers, I do think it's unfair. I do think police officers should get raises, but yeah, that's independent from this board. It's not an either or, it should be both.
And again, the board members are not getting paid.
Right.
It's the staff that will be hired to help manage it and investigate. Let's go next to Greg. Good morning, Greg.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, I happen to have the day off, Nick, so I thought I'd call in on the show and put my 2 cents in. Yeah, I'm all for this. And the reason why is because the police, their job is not the executor, the judge, the jury, the executor. I mean, their job is to actually defend and protect us. And I always look at I have a concealed carry permit, and let me give you a scenario. If someone was to break into my house, and as they're running away from my house, say I know they have a gun, I'm upstairs, I come downstairs, I scare them, they run out the house, they run down the street, I can't run after them and just shoot them. And police officers have to have this same thing. It's like if their life is not in danger, they have no right to just shoot citizens. You have a judicial system, we have a judge, we have a court system. People cannot be just shot, period, just because they feel they did something or they don't know. I mean, if they know they did it, you can't just go out and just shoot people. That's kind of the bottom line. As far as the money goes, everything, everybody's, a lot of organizations and groups, you could always find discrepancies and people get paid too much for this or too much for that. But that's just the Phil Valentine, Michael DiGiorno type thing to discourage citizens in Tennessee to support this thing. But I'm all for it. I think it's something that's way overdue. It should have been done a long time ago. And I just feel sorry for all the people that have actually had lost a loved one because of a gun-happy police officer that did not just follow the law, follow his what he's supposedly supposed to be trained to do. If your life is not endangered, you just don't open fire on somebody.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break on that note, and I'll let both you gentlemen comment on what he said. But I mean, he's right about, I think most people would agree, yeah, and that's the question that's going to come down in the Delkey Hambrick case. Okay, if it goes to trial, which I think it probably will, the question will be, what kind of threat did he perceive? If you're not in danger or someone else is not, yeah, no one's saying a police officer can shoot you. Obviously not. The question is, what does that officer perceive at that moment? That's at the heart of that case. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, I'll let you comment more on that, and we have more phone calls. Lines open if you want to jump in. Some good comments this morning. Appreciate hearing from you, Greg. We'll be right back with more right after this.